Before I start introducing the guest speakers, I'd like to call on Jim McDermott, who wants to share something. Also befitting today.
This is a little poem that Martin McGuinness wrote. Martin McGuinness died 2 months ago. He was a peacemaker, and a poet. This is from Martin. Brec Gal in Irish means sea trough. The Layla creature lay silent and unmoving as the Petrie waters flowed over the lofts of the Mohegans. Stones were the wigwams on a Donegal river were a decimated breed of free spirits. Tribes and thralls disappeared as we polluted and devoured in our greed and stupidity. The homeland of the braves. This is for Martin McGuinness, a little poem.
Thank you, Jim. So earlier, I recognized one of the people in the crowd as Chief Christine Zachary Dion. And I'd like to call on her to come up and say a few words on behalf of the First Nations.
Thank you. I'd like to greet all the dignitaries that are here. Thank you for being here, members of provincial, federal ministries, and the Mayor of Montreal. Thank you all for being here. I understand, and Kahnawake understands well, that we are standing on sacred ground. There is nothing more important for us than remembrance. And we have to say that being here, you raise their spirits again. The other thing I wanted to say that 10 years ago, Tom Hartley, who was Lord Mayor of Belfast from the Sinn Féin party, visited Kahnawake and left us with a plaque for 1845, I think 1846, and that was when Kahnawake collected a small amount of money in those days, I think $150, to send for those people who are dying of plague. Not of plague, but starvation. So it's always been something that's made us feel very good. We still have that plaque hanging up in our conference chamber. So really, I'm here to say we give you our support, the support of the Mohawks of Kahnawake. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If I can ask Mr. Thomas Mulcair to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Victor, and it's such an honor to be here with so many friends that we've worked with for so many years. If you go back just a few years ago, you might recall that there was an attempt to change the nature of Gros Isle near Quebec City. Sister Mariana O'Gallagher, as she then was, worked very hard with all of us to make sure that that was turned back. The first words above us are to preserve from desecration. Il faut absolument empêcher la profanation de ce site sacré. Il y a beaucoup d'amis qui vont se joindre à nous pour faire justement ça. We can count on true friends of the community like Jeffrey Kelly, member of the National Assembly, to make sure that this gets turned back. This is the best of who we are as Canadians. Coming to the aid of people in Quebec City and here. We've got friends who have driven down from Quebec City, friends like Joseph Lonergan and John O'Connor, people who have come in from Toronto this morning, understanding the importance of what we're talking about here today. So with that same quiet determination that we've always shown, but making no mistake and leaving no doubt in the minds of those who would build a hydro substation here, our quiet determination should not be mistaken for resignation. This will not be allowed to go forward. It's about history, it's about respect, and it's about remembering the best in all of us. Merci. Bon dimanche.
Thank you so much, Tom. I'd like to ask Fergus Keys, the director of the Montreal Irish Monument Park Foundation, to come up and say a few words.
Thank you very much. I'll be as brief as I can. I'm never brief, so you could be here the rest of the afternoon. But as Victor mentioned, my name is Fergus Keys, and I'm just one of the directors of the Montreal Irish Monument Park Foundation. As most of you are certainly aware by now, the objective of our group is to turn all that parking lot behind you and right down pretty much to the post office, turn the whole thing into a memorial space, recognizing, and people have touched on it before, but let me just touch on it again, it's important, 6,000 Irish who died and were buried here. Now listen, if 3, 4, 5 people die in an event, that's a tragedy. 6,000 people, that's a statistic. I mean, it's a number, 6,000. Let's today try and forget 6,000 and remember every single one was a man, woman, and child, exactly the same as all of us here today. Everyone looking for a future. Thank you. And like all immigrants to Canada, hoping that at least their children would have a better future. I mean, how many poets, how many writers had their destiny cut right at this point? We'll never know, of course. But when we say 6,000, because it's so big, we try to give some visualization to it. So if you look around, you'll see a bunch of little crosses, white crosses that are laid here and there and elsewhere. But let me tell you, if you counted them, you'd come up to about 2,000 crosses, and that's a couple of evenings to make, gluing them and painting them, you know, trying to give people this image. But this is 2,000. Whatever you look around, that's like 1/3 of the number of people that died. So, you know, that's really important. But also, of course, we really want to honor the people that went to help them. Everyone's touched on people before, so I don't want to really repeat too much. But certainly John Mills, the mayor of Montreal, gave up his life, the Grey Nuns, and a number of Catholic clergy, Anglican clergy, many, many, many people that went to help them were not Irish. We have to repeat that, they were not Irish. Actually, a big number of them were not Catholic. The Anglicans, the British soldiers that went in to get, they weren't Catholic, they weren't Irish. They were the best, as somebody, I think Mr. Mulcair says, they were the best of Canada. People going in there, as we're presently doing with refugees from Syria, doing the best that we can to help them. That makes me proud to be a Montrealer and a Quebecer and a Canadian. It's really, really, really good. And of course, you know, because the First Nations have a official representation, they have been here before, but official representation, we do have to touch on them, because in addition to the money that they raised that the Lord Mayor of Belfast went to thank them, they also shared their harvest of 1842 with the sick and dying Irish. So I mean, that's a big thing. They brought down the food, and so really, I think on behalf of the Irish ancestors, we would like to thank the First Nations ancestors. You came and helped us when our people needed it, and we thank you. So really, we can't tell you too much about the project. I mean, it's kind of ongoing, as it's been ongoing for 5 years. As most of you know by now, the land is right at this moment owned by an arm's length Crown corporation called Canada Lands Company, and they have sold it to Hydro-Quebec, but the deal is coming down, I don't know when, a few weeks or something officially. I do really have to say that Hydro-Quebec has been really, really good about it. As soon as the media and as soon as this attention hit them, they were right on the phone and saying, listen guys, we don't want to mess you up. So we went down and, you know, it was more of a meet and greet meeting, and at least we're talking. You know, our preference, nothing. No development here except for a green park. Reality, hey, you know, that's life. If we have to talk with Quebec, Hydro-Quebec, we'll certainly talk with them and try and see if we can. But something will be done. Yeah. We promise you that. Yeah. And something at least big enough to indicate how important this is on a historical, on a sacredness, and on a cultural arm. So we really thank everybody. We definitely thank, I know there's some representatives here from Hydro, I lost track of you, but we certainly thank you for coming, and we thank the First Nations particularly, and everybody else who came to help the Irish in 1847, and you coming to help the Irish today. Thank you very much.